am the master, and you will obey me. I am the master, and you will obey me.
Welcome to the 240th episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 10th of January, 2018, though. Chan, today we are featuring Utopia, Sound of Drums, and Last of the Time Lords, written by Russell T. Davies and starring David Tennant as the Doctor, Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones, John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, Derek Jacobi as the Master, and John Simmons as the new Master, though. Chan, I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and I am eating a plantain stuffed with some kind of cheese that doesn't seem to melt in the oven, though. Chan, with me are Mad Matt Winchell, Randy Ronson McCulloch,
You will obey me,
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke,
Chocolate,
Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
The twist in the movie is Godzilla is a glass of milk the entire time.
And it occurs to me that I was expecting another person, but I just realized he's not with us. So
he might be late. He'll probably show up and go, "Hey guys," it's like, "Hey, we're streaming."
I forgot about him because we've been ready for 20 minutes.
Yeah. By some insane miracle, we were actually, Matt's sitting here going, "Yeah, we're ready." And I'm like sitting here going, "Oh my God, it's 9:40. We got to basically chit-chat for 20 minutes as we figure out that and just keep half an eye on the clock." And we actually did it. We started on time.
Satan's on ice skates tonight.
It's only taken us, 5 years?
Go 2018.
5 years and freaking 240 episodes for us to start on time.
By the way, I was going to say something else, but Bill just kept doing the chendo, and it just...
I just killed your brain, huh?
It just snapped everything in half and made me fidget even more.
You could have done the Master's line, the "you with your chins and your thos driving me crazy year after year."
Yeah, just wait till Matt starts hearing the drums in his head. Okay,
better watch
so
out, everyone's gonna die.
We've got birthdays followed by the news, and there's not a lot of either, so that'll be fairly quick. I don't think we have anything in Geek Talk. There has been, some stuff that's come off a mid-season break, but I've been not paying attention as I've been basically cramming as much Critical Role down my brain before it starts up tomorrow with its new story arc. I'm not going to make it. I'm only on episode 58 now.
I'm probably just going to start with the new story arc.
Probably they're the best.
And then try to
Yeah, well,
catch
the
up
downside
later.
for us is that it actually airs while we're streaming. So we're going to have to catch it.
It might have to be a few days before I catch it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how up to date they are.
So we don't have any Geek Talk, no rant of the week for me. Like I said, I've been kind of preoccupied. No reviews of Shame. We got the 5-minute challenge when it happens, and then we're going to be spending the rest of the time talking about the 3 episodes tonight. So, going onward to birthdays, we only have 3, and only one of pure mainstream Doctor Who fame. The first birthday is actually Rowan Atkinson, who played the 9th Doctor in Curse of Fatal Death for Red Nose Day, is better known as being either Blackadder from the Blackadder series or Mr. Bean from the Mr. Bean series.
Didn't they actually consider him as one of the mainstream doctors at one point as well?
He might have been in consideration, but it never happened.
It never happened, yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you go for the list of people that were considered for the role of Doctor, but either turned it down or was declined, or the
people declined the idea.
The showrunners moved on to somebody else. I mean, that list is a mile long.
Right. Yeah. Or all the people that were considered in the gap when they kept trying to restart the show.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, Rowan is still writing his status as an international celebrity, cameoing as Mr. Bean last year in the Chinese film, and excuse me if I completely screw this name up, because I am no expert on pronouncing Chinese, Huan Li Ji Ju Ren, and will be appearing this year as the titular character in Johnny English 3.
Oh.
Yes,
I have some of the Johnny. I have at least one of the Johnny English movies. I need to watch them.
Yeah, well, apparently they're making a third.
Sweet.
Yay!
That was on the 6th of January. On the 8th, we have the remaining 2 birthdays, the first of which is a completely honorary one in our list.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Professor Stephen Hawking.
He writes about time.
Stephen's never been on Doctor Who, only in behind-the-scenes extras, but he is a longtime Doctor Who fan, and he is probably one of the most brilliant minds on the planet today, responsible for most of what we consider to be modern physics and the laws of physics. Mind you, I do believe he's working on a bit of a flawed premise, but as soon as somebody gets it through their head that time is not necessarily a linear, straight progression of same rate, same speed, and takes physics back and goes forward out there, I'm pretty sure they'll make some great discoveries in the near future. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Also on the 8th is the birthday of William Hartnell, the first Doctor. The original, you might say. Would have been 110, but he died at died in 1975 at the age of 67. Of course, that was only a couple years after his appearance in The Three Doctors.
Yep.
And he was fairly ill by that time.
Yeah, they literally had to hold up cue cards for him to read them.
Mm-hmm. The reason he stood down as the Doctor in 66 was his failing health, so I guess you could say we were fortunate that we got to see him that one last time.
Yep.
So that's the end of birthdays. We now have some episode news. Aaron?
We have a lot of episode news. Oh, quite a bit anyway. All right, so let's begin with the chart and see concerning Twice Upon a Time. And it's it's audience, I should say. All right, so Doctor Who got up to looks like slot 9 on Monday the 25th of December. And with 7.92 million viewers. And it was, of course, the 9th program for Christmas week, according to the BARB. Top-rated programs for the week was the New Year fireworks display on London's South Bank, the Queen's Christmas message, and those both got into 7th place. Let me see here, and it looked like Coronation Street was also pretty far up there.
Twice.
Twice. Called the Midwife, Mrs. Brown's Boys, Christmas special. Yeah, pretty much Strictly Come Dancing, Christmas special.
Now, here's the thing. If I recall our overnight list, because this basically looks like the overnight list, but it's all been adjusted for the whole week of and the plus one ratings. Originally in the overnights, Doctor Who had beat out both episodes of EastEnders. And it looks like the Christmas episode of EastEnders has actually grown over Doctor Who.
Ouch.
Yeah. Mind you, I expect certain things to do better than Doctor Who on Christmas. I expect the Queen's Christmas message to do better than Doctor Who.
Special fireworks events and stuff, yeah.
And I guess I kind of expect Strictly Come Dancing these days to do better than Doctor Who because, you know.
Sigh.
Yeah.
It looks like there were more iPlayer viewers for EastEnders is what caused it. It looks like.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and speaking of, let me see here. Speaking of iPlayer, let's move on to cult boxes. Doctor Who Twice Upon a Time proves to be an iPlayer hit, is the headline here. And let's see. The top 10 iPlayer chart for the end of December. Of course, EastEnders is actually 1 and 2 at the chart for Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Well, those are the episodes, never mind. But those still got, the Christmas Day one got 1.6 million. Boxing Day got 1.5 million. Number 3, Peaky Blinders. Number 4, The Apprentice. Number 5 and 6, both EastEnders again. Actually, all the way down through 8, and then 9th is Twice Upon a Time with 1.0 viewers, so 45,000, I should say, on top of that. So, let me see here. It was both for requests 69.2 million, for weekly hours 25.6 million. All right, and that's just for overall iPlayer, though.
Yeah, this is just iPlayer.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like Victoria's not on the list.
Mm-hmm.
I think Victoria's ITV. That would be why.
Oh, this is
This is only BBC.
Oh, okay. Yep. So
All right.
does,
So the
does
eventual
ITV
total...
have a way to view stuff online, or is it?
I have no clue.
Mm.
I know nothing really about ITV, and I only know about iPlayer from these little pieces of news.
Right.
All right. So it also said in the earlier story section here, Stephen Moffat had to do Battle of Plenty with ratings stories during this time on the show. That came to an end with Twice Upon a Time. Moffat argued rightly that overnight ratings mattered less and less given the changing ways that people watch television, and ratings for his final Doctor Who story have proven that.
And
those numbers did go up pretty quickly.
Airtime rating.
Overall, it's 2.2 million viewers in the UK to the total who watched it on Christmas Day.
To be honest, airtime ratings are mattering less and less.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because more and more people are watching the stuff on streaming services, not just iPlayer, but people will wait to see it on Netflix or on Amazon here in the United
Hulu,
States.
etc.
Yeah.
It will. When you factor everything in, basically what this article is saying is that the episode is going to be passing 8 million viewers here. So it may not have come out on top at the very beginning, but it's slowly getting up there as people.
It's already broken top 10 and is still trying to push.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I believe that's all of our episode news.
Mm-hmm.
No, excuse me.
That's all of that particular article.
No, excuse me. That's all of our previous episode news.
Mm-hmm. So we've got future episode news coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right.
News like this will affect you in the future.
In the future.
Yes, that's right. We reach
I've
into the
lost
depths
my
of time and pull out the episode news.
All right.
Thank you, Cadwell.
So, actually, you're getting episode news from August of next year. No, just kidding. If I could do that, I would truly be a Time Lord.
All right. Thanks to some clever sleuthing via one of the many users of Twitter, Cultbox has been able to figure out who the new director might be for the new season or new series. And they found this out by looking up someone who played a character called the police officer, backtracked that through, and found out that the director that he was working under was Mark Tonderai. Or Tonderai. Pretty well known in films as someone who directed Hush and House at the End of the Street. However, this director has also worked on Gotham, Lucifer, and The Five, just to name a few. So,
Okay,
it
so
is an established director if this is the case.
and he's established in the genre if he's done Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
Because while it's not the same as Doctor Who, it's that same kind of geeky genre.
The same mix of drama and sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm checking his IMDb right now.
To see which episodes.
Lucifer, Gotham. He did Hog Day. Oh, he did the freaking Pig episodes Professor Pig episodes.
Oh,
Those were freaky.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty good then. Those were like some of the better parts of the newest Gotham season.
Yep.
Oh, I'm not caught up on Gotham yet, so I might not have seen
Professor Pig?
Yeah, Professor Pig makes an appearance in Gotham this year. They just finished that. Actually, they might not be entirely done with that plot line, but they finished that storyline.
Oh. Okay, I see who this character is. Yeah, he's an odd one.
Yep.
Almost kind of a body horror thing.
One of the more recent additions to Batman's menagerie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But still, yeah, those were good episodes. So that bears good for Tantarai. Mind you, science fiction's a little bit different, but if he could pull off some of the effects of Gotham, he could be pretty good on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Although, working with a budget from Fox and working with a budget from BBC are two different animals.
Right. So we've
We'll
also
have to see
found
how
out
they do.
from all of this information, we've also found out that Block 2 of Doctor Who Series 11 will feature episodes 2 and 3, and the first block will cover episodes 1 and 7.
Okay.
So in other words, the director we just mentioned is apparently going to be doing episodes 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, which
Based on
means
that.
it might be a two-parter, but that might not make a difference anymore since they're kind of doing serials.
Right. And even then, sometimes the same director will do 2 back-to-back episodes that aren't closely related. They just are directed by the same person.
Okay.
Also of note is that where the filming is taking place.
That's also a possible
South
thing.
Africa, yeah.
Yes, filming is currently taking place in South Africa. There was an earlier news article from last week that mentioned the production team was planning on starting to film shortly in South Africa. This one has updated that to currently filming. So we're down there, and that's not that unusual. South Africa is a fairly common location for British filming to go to, probably because it's largely English speaking and has
Pretty
a lot
cheap.
of variety of location styles.
Yeah.
And of course, yeah, the British pretty much had run of the place for quite a while, so they probably developed some connections.
At least when it comes to renting out places to film. Yeah.
All right, and coming up next, more sleuthing via Twitter. This one through Girly Letters on Twitter. Spotted something kind of strange, and that's the fact that the toy line, or latest issue of Toy World magazine, has outlined BBC's merchandising plans for the year. However, they mentioned that will be 11 hours worth of Doctor Who coming up. So we do know that the first episode is going to be longer. It's going to be about an hour long, and subsequent episodes were supposed to be 50 minutes long. But that might have changed. I mean, even if you work in like the extra hour for the Christmas special, and it's 11 hours of new content in autumn 2018 is what they said. Yeah, so it's basically they're just trying to work out how to put out the toys and everything for it. So
yeah. Well, you think about this. You break it down. So it's supposed to be a 10-episode run. So the first episode's an hour. Let's set that aside for the moment. You got 9 episodes at 50 minutes. So that's 10 minutes off of an hour for each episode. So 6 of them, you lose an hour, 5 hours. 3 more, you lose half an hour. So that turns out to be 7.5 hours for 9 episodes, 8.5 when you add the first one,
Mm-hmm.
8.5 there. Then you've got a Christmas special, 60 minutes. That's still only 9.5. They're missing another hour and a half.
There's also the question of where this merchandising is going because American content usually considers the commercials as part of the runtime. At least by my experience.
As
No
far as I
expert
can
in it,
tell,
but-
this is
In America, they do, but you gotta remember, Bill, that they don't air commercials during the episodes in Britain.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. It depends on.
If they did,
it
they'd
depends on
go off
where
their
this
tea.
merchandising is happening. So it says BBC and not BBC Worldwide, but I don't know if that actually means strictly within Britain or not. No, because when I click on the link, it specifically starts by talking about BBC Worldwide, so it may not be British restricted.
Even so, you're still going to wind up with a discrepancy.
Yeah, there's something off here.
Either they're not telling us something,
Or it could just be a goof. It could have been a miscalculation on
There's
their
going to be an
part.
April Fool's Day episode. A new trend has started.
Maybe there will be an extra episode that no one knows about.
maybe.
Maybe instead of 10 episodes, it's actually 11, and people have just been misquoting or misunderstanding what's going on. Could happen, I guess.
Yep. But either way, it's a little bit of hope for people that thought they were royally getting gypped this season with the cutback in Doctor Who. I mean, because usually it's a 13 by basically 45 run. Or 12 by 45 recently.
Alright, also noted in this article, BBC has stated it's coming out with a 5-year evergreen strategy for Doctor Who, so it suggests there's going to be more Doctor Who coming up, and that they're going to try to keep it going for at least for the next 5 years.
We actually did kind of know that because that's what they sold to China was a 5-year pass.
Yeah. Yeah, they sold that idea to China already, and China's been apparently eating up Doctor Who like Tic Tacs, so...
Apparently the BBC's on a 5-year mission to explore strange new markets.
Like Asia.
To seek out new viewers and new levels of ratings. To boldly go where no show has gone before.
Or where every single bit of Hollywood's already going. To China!
China.
It makes me wonder when Doctor Who will send their landing party to Japan again.
Hello, would you like to watch the show? It's for everybody. But we like age demographics. For everybody.
China's doing it. Korea's doing it. Singapore's doing it. Come on, you don't want to be the only one in the South Pacific not to have it.
Gooble gobble. One of us.
Hell, we even smuggled a season to Kim Jong-un. Come on!
Come on!
Jeez.
Boy, that makes BBC Worldwide really look like a pusher, doesn't it? Come on, the first one's free.
Yeah.
Here you
We'll
go.
give you an extra season. Just dub it. No one's looking.
All right, so that's all of our episode news. We do have some cast and crew people talking about stuff.
Yeah. So, on to me. Jodie Whittaker has given an interview that is now in Total Film magazine. This news is from Cold Box, and they have a quote from the interview. She says that this is the defining moment of my life. I feel old enough for it, and I feel like I understand how important it is, and I'm so excited that the role model for young children, boys or girls or teenagers or adults, come in different forms. There's nothing unattainable about me. I don't look like I've been carved out of rock. I don't sound like I've had the extraordinary glamour. It's amazing to be a milestone, but how wonderful if it wasn't. If it was just accepted, embraced. Hopefully when other people grow up, it's not so much of a surprise.
Yeah, I
The
get her.
placement of that ellipsis makes it sound like teenagers are different from boys and girls. Like boy,
Yeah.
girl, or teenager are the three different options.
Well, teenagers
I'm
could be
sure-
considered a species of their own at times.
Yeah.
I would like to also actually note before we continue on that Cult you really need to find more than one picture of Jodie freaking Whittaker, because if it wasn't for the title, I would have thought I just went to the same article.
It's because it's the only one of her as the Doctor thus far.
There
except
are
for, I think
other
there's a few
pictures
publicity
of her as the Doctor. Come on, we've seen them.
They're of her as Peter Capaldi. They're not her as the 13th Doctor yet. There's only one of her dressed as the 13th Doctor.
I still want to see how long that costume lasts.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And there's also still pictures of her in the hoodie too. So come on,
That's what I'm
there's
saying.
more
Her
than
as
pictures.
Peter Capaldi. That'd be like using the bow tie to advertise for the 12th Doctor.
I don't care. There's more than one picture out there. Good day.
That's funny. There was more to this article when I clicked on it earlier.
Oh?
Yeah, because it
Yeah,
also
it's interesting.
it talked a bit on her accent, and that apparently has been removed.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
maybe Total Film didn't like them taking that much of it. And hang on.
Oh,
a
if they
second.
were quoting something else, then maybe, yeah, they didn't like them over-quoting them.
Actually, no. I'm sorry. That was a different article.
Oh,
Ah,
well, that shame.
Yeah, no, they were the same article, and they got split up.
gotcha.
So from the same interview, she talks a bit about the choice to use her Yorkshire accent. I'm just going to take this, Tim, if that's all right.
That's cool. Totally.
She talks about it's like all the Doctor's voices have been different. There have been various dialects, and I knew coming into it that there wasn't a rule that you had to speak in a certain way. I auditioned in my accent, and at no point did they say to do anything different. In fact, they said use your own voice. And that's exactly what she did. She says, in a strange way, I don't know how much of an actual decision it was. I think it happened before I was even cast. Now, that was interesting when I thought about it because that means that they had already made the decision without really getting input from the actor, which makes me a little concerned on production.
I mean, that might have just been that since Capaldi used his own accent, they just decided the next Doctor will use their own accent.
And I mean, it's
Just
been an
go with
on
it.
and off thing. It
Yeah.
has been an on and off thing.
Mhm.
It's like,
Eccleston had his own accent. Tennant didn't.
but did Tennant audition with his accent and they asked him to change, or did he audition with the estuary accent?
I don't even know if Tennant auditioned.
Yeah, I'm not even sure he
'cause
auditioned. They just asked and he said yes.
They were more or less waiting for them to have an opening at the same time that he had an opening.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, he was actually
But-
supposed to be intended for the first season, but there was scheduling difficulties, so they had to find someone
Casanova.
else.
He was still on Casanova.
Yeah,
but
Casanova, so they got Christopher.
Tennant was the only Doctor with an in-plot reason to use a certain accent.
Mm-hmm. Matt Smith used his own accent, but he didn't really have much of an accent.
Yeah.
And then Capaldi had his own accent, so...
And yeah, I think... Was there a classic Doctor who used a different accent, or did they all use their own? I mean, RP isn't someone's own, but that was kind of the tradition at the time, so you kind
Yeah,
of expect that.
And that was a standard in BBC acting.
Right.
For a good chunk of Doctor Who history. If you acted in RP. If you were a leading character.
Would you like to RP?
Oh, that's right.
It
Sylvester
sounds... Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sylvester had to tone down his accent a little bit.
Yes,
I
he
think,
did. He had to
but-
tone down his Scottish burr. to a slight rolling of the R's.
Still, I imagine if there was an internet in 1986, people would have been flipping their shit at a Scottish accent playing the Doctor.
It was probably a bit of a thing.
1986 Twitter.
Hartnell. Let's see. Hartnell, Troughton. Pertwee actually was in his own accent too, although he tried. But he still came off as his accent was it's still a bit thick even when he did receive pronunciation, but he got away with it. You could hear him try, but every now and then it's kind of like dealing with Perry, the way he'd say a certain words or anything.
Glass.
Oh, it wasn't glass, but it was certain words that you could tell his regional dialect would peek through. Where was Pertwee from?
I know we've mentioned it at some point, but I don't remember.
He was from Chelsea. Which is a London suburb, but it's one of the areas of London that has its own kind of, accent.
Like Manhattan.
Well, estuary is a London accent, but it's indicative to the area around the Thames estuary. That's why it's called estuary.
Mm.
It's a modern spin-off of Old Cockney. And still has a little bit of that old meter in its background, and I think Chelsea is like the opposite. Actually, it's kind of west central London. So yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of where the estuary is. Okay. Anyway,
yeah, move along.
Moving on, we have news about Jenna Coleman, who is going to be in a new drama on BBC One called The Cry. It will consist of 4 60-minute episodes, and it is a thrilling, psychological new drama written by Jacqueline Persky. And its inspiration for the story comes from the novel of the same name by Helen Fitzgerald, filmed in Scotland and Australia, and it is the first scripted television commission for the Scottish-based production company Synchronicity Films. Jenna will play the lead role of Joanna, and Ewan Leslie will play her husband Alistair. And together they must deal with unthinkable tragedy when their newborn baby is abducted from a small coastal town in Australia.
Really? Isn't she still on Victoria?
At the moment.
Is that done now?
Don't know.
Because
she might be playing it in between seasons.
I thought
this is only a 4-episode miniseries.
I know, but I thought she was in kind of an exclusive contract with ITV because I thought.
Oh, I get you.
I thought. I thought Moffat had to pull some massive strings to get her for that one scene cameo.
Would have to ask Jenna herself. I don't know.
I'm trying to see.
But like Tim said, it could easily be an in-between seasons thing, especially if it's a miniseries of some kind. It'll only take a couple months to film, I would think.
Yes, and The Cry will air on BBC One later this year.
Okie doke.
Which means we'll probably get it on BritBox around the same time.
Close to it.
Well, no, I mean, it was funny when Red Dwarf was on, and we were getting Red Dwarf the same day it aired in England. I'm just like, okay, that's awesome. I can sit down and watch a new episode of Red Dwarf fresh. It was unbelievably cool.
In December 2017, Victoria was renewed for a 3rd series, so it is not over.
Yep.
So it's not over, so she's just doing it between seasons.
Unless they're filming this under the radar, it was like hush hush don't tell.
No, what I was talking about was some stars, when they're on one network or another, signed in, as part of their contract.
They can't work with another company, yeah.
They cannot work on another broadcast network. They can't do a side thing for their competitor, which is what this would be. And I thought I had heard something in an interview with Moffat that was a bit of a pain in the ass to get Jenna Coleman because she was under exclusivity contract with ITV.
I think the issue was more that they were kind of filming both around the same time.
Maybe.
Yeah, they didn't have time to get her. 'Cause I remember reading that article.
It probably wasn't exclusivity, it was just timing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the big thing about her getting in the Christmas special. Yeah, they had it, or not. Was it a Christmas special? I can't remember now.
Yeah, it was a
But that
Christmas
was
special.
one of her things. Yeah, it was about timing and trying to get her in one last time. Which is also probably why they... Actually, yeah, that's right, for this Christmas special, because that's probably why she only got, like, 30 seconds. Anyway,
moving on. If you're wondering what other people think about Jodie Whittaker, you can hear a word from David Tennant, who addressed Wizard World Comic-Con in New Orleans at, quote, "I think she'll bring herself. I don't mean that to sound as flippant as it did. What Jodie has sort of become known for as an actress, she's so brilliantly and heart-stoppingly emotional in something like Broadchurch, where she just broke a nation's heart with this wonderful portrait of this mother and these awful desperate straits. And I think people have often gone to Jodie to break our hearts, because she does it so wonderfully. But if you know Jodie, she's so funny and rude, and she's got this broad accent, and she just sort of fizzes with energy and madness. She's quite unpredictable and glorious and funny, and I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine she'll bring a bit of that too. And her natural anarchy will be something that the Doctor will enjoy."
so in other words, according to Tennant, he's expecting more of the natural Jodie to come through. And apparently she's tongue-in-cheek and crazy.
Yes. And I say I could
Which
go
makes
for that.
sense.
Which makes
more or
sense
less-
to some degree to the Doctor, yeah.
Yeah, more or less doctors are molded on their actors, so it makes sense.
Especially for the Doctor, because you play it even when you're not filming. You're the Doctor.
Yeah.
Every time you're out in public, you are the Doctor. You have to be.
Just like
It is
Peter
a
Capaldi
standard-
said, he had to go, 4 years without cursing?
Yep.
Even in his personal
You
life?
want to bet Peter Capaldi is still at home swearing right now?
How the fuck can I get fucking outside and not have this fucking swear and everything?
He's on vacation just cursing out a manager or something somewhere.
And then all of a sudden a kid walks into the room and he's just like, "Hi!"
Well, no, he's not the Doctor anymore. Well, actually, you still kind of are. You are until you die.
Yeah.
You're the Doctor till you die. As soon as a kid walks into the room, he'll suddenly have to realize he has to censor himself again.
I could just imagine him on vacation switching between Malcolm Tucker and the Doctor every hour or two.
Can
Depending
you
upon
imagine
who's
having
around.
both of those in your head at the same time? Oh, God.
That's what people wanted,
Well,
was more of that
David
originally.
Tennant has the Purple Man and the Doctor in his head at the same time.
Oh, God. And Scrooge
Ooh.
McDuck.
True.
Yep.
What a trio.
Imagine the three of them in a scene together.
Okay, that would hurt. There's actually another little piece of interview lower in this article.
Yes, another quote by Tennant, where he talks about meeting or how Jodie came to him for advice. "We had a wee chat, yes. It is quite a unique job, because it's a show that has so much history to it, and it has a reach that's quite unlike other things. It's a bit of a kind of cultural thing. Who's going to be the Doctor? It's a news story, really. So to find yourself in the middle of that is a bit overwhelming. I think inevitably, you sort of look to people who'd been there before to go, what is this like? What is this madness I entered into? And that's certainly been the case with Matt and Peter, and now with Jodie. I know that Jodie's talked to Peter, and she's talked to Matt, just for a little support group. You go, what is this madness? Tell me about it. And of course, she's a little trepidatious, but she's basically really excited. She's such a fantastic choice for it. You see it in just those 30 seconds that she did at the end of the last episode. You just go, oh my god, she's all over it. Brilliant. It's great."
He makes being cast as a doctor sound like being diagnosed with cancer. You got to go to a support group.
No.
It's going to change your life.
No, that's
Nope.
not that bad. It's not. He's not making it bleak, Bill. You're making it bleak.
Nope.
Yeah, it's true.
No, he makes me cast of the Doctor sound like you've got people with white coats coming in with a straitjacket to haul you off to the asylum.
Or that you've already been thrown in the asylum and you're like, wait, where am I?
All right, Miss Whittaker, just calm down. We'll give you this, and we'll take you off to Cardiff.
Meanwhile, here's the direct visual stream of every episode of Doctor Who. You're welcome. Clockwork Orange.
Yes.
The new Doctor Indoctrination. The new Doctor Indoctrination Center. Make it stop! Make it stop!
I don't want to finish this Western with the first Doctor. You will, and you will remember not to do this.
Make Colin Baker stop, please, please.
And not a moment too soon.
All right. Is that the end of that article? Or?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Yeah.
All right. So we move on to our media releases, starting with books, and of course, being a week that has a week, Candy Jar Books has a new announcement.
Of course.
This is for Lethbridge Stewart, A Very Private Haunting, which will be published toward the end of this month and is the opening of the 5th series of Lethbridge Stewart novels. It's written by Sharon Bidwell, cover art by Richard Young. Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart is not a man who likes to leave things unfinished. He is, therefore, at a loss when forced into taking leave after his recent tussle with a shadow creature, a case that has yet to be fully resolved. Anne Travers is tired of the loss burning in her heart. So when Lethbridge Stewart is called to Glencross to help the son of an old friend, she insists on going with him. And in Glencross, young Thomas Campbell has gone missing, and his friends band together to uncover the dark secret at the heart of the village. Meanwhile, Arthur Penrose had returned to his ancestral home to find a haunted residence and a doll with a message. What connects the doll to the strange sounds that scurry around Penrose Manor? Why do the adults of Glencross seem so intent on keeping their children from leaving the village? And what has all this got to do with the shadow creature? It is up to Lethbridge Stewart and Anne to find out. This also includes the extended version of Sharon Bidwell's short story, The Wishing Bazaar.
The doll seems to have Alice Cooper makeup. That's all.
Looks like pre-orders will also include a free digital short story titled The Comrades, written by Brian Gallagher, a tale that is set during the Cold War and sees Brigadier Douglas and Captain Bishop working alongside the SAS, which it is also available to be pre-ordered individually.
I don't know. That could just as easily be clown makeup too, Matt.
Well, I'm talking about the eyeshadow. I'm not talking about the fact that it's a bleached white doll. That's
No. I meant that eyeshadow could be clown. That could
Yeah.
be very, very Harlequin-like too.
Doesn't seem to be, but okay.
Yeah, it's the only thing that could be considered that. Like, it doesn't have, like, the mouth or anything. Moving on to the next set of books, we have a short story collection featuring Michelle Gomez's Missy.
I also see that Bill has found a new website to get news from.
Yes. At one point, we had an article that was only there that was necessary to include, so I added it to the list that I check every week. Usually, it doesn't have much that it. This is from DoctorWho.tv.
Yeah, it looks like mostly what it has is a bunch of Stephen Moffat quotes.
So
And
nothing
this is-
special.
This is the Missy Chronicles, which is being released on February 22nd. Does it have any other details? But it doesn't have details. Okay. It does have a verb. When she's not busy amassing armies of Cybermen or manipulating the Doctor and his companions, Missy has plenty of time to kill, literally. In this all-new collection of stories about the renegade Time Lord we all love to hate, you'll discover just some of the mad and malevolent activities Missy gets up to when she isn't distracted by the Doctor character. Such things as her first encounter with the monks and such is probably on here. And here we go. Lists all of the authors that are part of it, which are Kevin Scott, Jacqueline Rayner, Paul Mars, I believe is the pronunciation of the Welsh name, James Goss, Peter Angelides, I'm not sure, and Richard Dinnick. And I recognize all except the last two of those names.
I don't know. I don't know if I could go through an entire novel with Missy as the protagonist.
Well, it seems to be a collection of short stories.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. But I mean, still,
One a week.
it doesn't matter. No matter which story you're in, Missy's the protagonist.
Oh, and it looks like actually that was in the original article. It was just right above the check out the details part, so I apparently missed it. My bad.
No, nothing important, Matt.
Yeah.
All right, that it?
Yep.
All right. So next we're on to our Big Finish news. And there's no new release news for Big Finish this week, having basically blown their proverbial wad on their 12 days of Big Finishmas, which is done now.
Oh my.
But they did give us some news for some upcoming releases within the next month, and in the case of one of them, later this year. The first thing they talked about is the new Torchwood, Aliens Among Us Part 3, the finale, in which a familiar face rejoins the Torchwood team, someone they thought was dead. And no, it's not somebody from the Torchwood TV show.
Ah.
This is Tracy Ann Oberman joins the Torchwood team as Yvonne Hartman. You know, the head of Torchwood 1 that supposedly died.
For Queen of Country with oil down her face, yes.
Yes.
Her audios must have been really popular. They keep bringing her back.
Apparently.
So
Jinx,
this
1, 2, 3,
series,
4, 5, 6.
this finale part consists of 4 episodes, consisting of Poker Face by Tim Foley. Torchwood are in trouble. Terrorist attacks are rocking the city. Control the police has been ceded to Cardiff's alien masters. And it looks like it's all been arranged by Captain Jack Harkness. Worse, there's a dead woman in cells who says Torchwood will be hers by dawn. So that's the first episode. The next is Tagged by Joseph Lidster. I know what you've done. I know what you'll do. The phrase starts appearing everywhere around Cardiff, on posters, on the internet. It's just a prank, isn't it? Only a wave of vigilante crime spreads through the city. People are taking revenge. Suddenly everyone knows what you've done, and they'll know what you'll do.
Santa Claus.
Next is Escape Room by Helen Goldwyn. Gwen Cooper, Reese Williams, and the Colchester Prices go to try out an escape room. They've heard a lot about them, especially this one. People keep going into the game and not coming out. But Torchwood will be fine. After all, partners can trust each other, can't they? And then Herald of the Dawn by James Goss. It all starts normally enough. A car park full of ramblers is incinerated by Thunderbolt. But the next day it's clear and there's something very wrong. Something's changed. Something's coming. It's the end of the world. And that's what Torchwood are best at. So
they feel fine?
This is actually going to be due out next month in February. It is available on CD. It'll be available on CD for £28 or download for £25. And of course, Part 1 and Part 2 is also still available if you need to catch up.
I'm guessing that's going to be the end of Aliens Among Us because that would make a 12-part series, which is
correct,
pretty much standard for the original.
That's why it's called the finale.
Does it say that?
However, they do.
Oh yeah,
mention...
it does say that in the headline. Okay.
Yep, it does mention the end of the month. A new Torchwood release will be announced. So if you're a Torchwood fan, you have that to look forward to. Probably. Either that or some short specials between that and Series 6. We don't know yet.
We'll see.
So the next one that's up is the Diary of River's Song, Series 3. Titled River's Dinner Date. You can tell how I feel about this.
I think you
This
can tell how
is-
most of us feel about this.
Due out later this month.
Oh.
And this is another 4-parter.
Doctor, huh?
Looks like the 5th Doctor is in this.
Yep.
Yes,
They-
with Peter Davidson.
They must be confident Tom will live at least another year.
Yeah. The 4th and 5th series are either that or they're already filmed it and they're just releasing them on a schedule. Because they've already announced the 4th and 5th series.
A
as the
sad
Diary
but
of
possible
River Song.
theory, yes, that they've already filmed it.
The first episode of this is The Lady in the Lake by Nev Fountain. On Terminus Prime, clients choose their own means of demise. But when River discovers that there are repeat customers, she knows something more is going on. Stupid suicide booth!
Hmm.
Alright, so part 2, Requiem for the Doctor. River has joined the Doctor and his friend Brooke on their travels, and they stop off in 18th century Vienna. River has more than one mystery to solve before a killer is set loose on the people of Vienna, and on the Doctor. Next, My Dinner with Andrew. The bumptious gastropod exists beyond space-time itself, and the usual rules of causality do not apply. Anything could happen. It is here that the Doctor has a date with River's Song, and with death. Okay. And the 4th is The Furies by Matt Fitton. Madame Kavorian knows the universe's greatest threat, the Doctor, must be eliminated. An assassin was created for that purpose. But if Melody Pond has failed, Kavorian will simply have to try again. So that's Series 3.
A picture with her with Tom at the bottom.
Yep. And it says that the 4th series is scheduled for August 2018.
So that's
And that'll
already
be-
probably
Yeah, so it's gotta
filmed
be
or
already-
filming.
Started being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oddly, okay, yeah, it's released later this month. You can pre-order it today for the same price as the other one, £23 CD, £20 normally. And then they mention the fact that the 4th and 5th series are pre-orderable now.
Oh wow. So they've even got what? The 3rd Doctor now?
Well, I don't know who they're going to be doing for the 3rd Doctor, but probably either that or they're going straight for the 1st and having River Song appear with
David Bradley.
David Bradley.
David Bradley before anything else
Possible.
happens, yeah.
Either way, we don't know for certain, but well.
We'll see.
The final Big Finish news article is an 8th Doctor special, Ravenous. Following the events of Doom Coalition, the 8th Doctor is starting a new 4-box set saga called Ravenous. So they're talking about Ravenous Part 1. We are the forgotten women, Helen ignored, put down, never allowed to prove our worth and get together. Together we can be the most important people in history. And this is, of course, that was from the finale of Doom Coalition, where the Doctor lost one of his companions, Helen Sinclair. An academic from 1960s England was left trapped in time and space with the 11, a mad homicidal Time Lord retaining the personalities of his previous multiple regenerations. Ew. And now, the 8th Doctor is joined by Liv Chenka. Must hunt through time and space on 2 missions, find their fallen companion, and stop the 11 by any means. And that's the Ravenous. That'll include Their Finest Hour by John Dorney, How to Make a Killing in Time Travel, also by John Dorney, World of Damnation by Matt Fitton, Sweet Salvation by Matt Fitton. And there's going to be a few familiar faces returning to this, including Sir Winston Churchill, played by Ian McNeice, And for classic Doctor Who fans, is the return of the classic villain Candyman from the 7th Doctor episode, The Happiness Patrol. That was from season 25. Not one that we've covered, but now that they're doing an audio on it, we might have to.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I was really eager to bring back Candyman, says David. Is that his actor? I think so. No, that's the producer, David Richardson. I thought it was time we could return to Graham Curry's original version for the character. This Candyman is a saccharine scientist in humanoid form, and you'll discover the reason for the difference within the story. He's played by Nicholas Rowe, whose recent work include Da Vinci's Demons and The Crown. And this is available for pre-order now. You can order the box sets individually for that same price. It seems like Big Finish is regulating their prices these days. $23 on CD, $20 download. Or you can buy them in a bundle for $90 or £90 on CD, £80 on download. Ravenous 1 is due out in April. Ravenous 2 is October, with 3 and 4 being released sometime in 2019. And don't forget also that Time War is still going on as well. Time War 1, starring Paul McGann as the Doctor and Raki Tharkar as his companion Bliss. And that was out from Big Finish. We announced it earlier. And that's all the Big Finish news. We have one final piece of news.
It's a bit of a funny little bit of news from the Radio Times. Basically, so apparently it seems that, let me see here who the culprits are. I believe it was RTD, but I think also Stephen Moffat, in order to get people chit-chatting on the message boards, would try to hide basically swear words, try to get them past the censors in the show. And apparently it was one of these such characters who fell victim to this was Riversong. It was part of a rude game. Let me see here. Moffat and fellow former showrunner RTD were playing. Basically, they tried to work out Doctor Who titles with rude acronyms, and they came up with a Riversong ending. And then apparently one of them asked, "What's a Riversong?"
Russell said, "What's Riversong?"
And, "I'll just call somebody Riversong, and she'd better die. That way we've got the acronym." So.
Oh my.
This, by the way, does make it official. Riversong is actually an arsehole.
Yep.
Yeah, that's of course a Riversong ending. If you take the first letters of it, it spells out. So
it spells art. Yeah.
So.
And yeah, it also confirms that not only Moffat but Russell are giant trolls. Because they were basically doing these acronyms just to wind up the people on the forums. For no other reason.
Now I'm going to have to go through every serial from the RTD era and see what the acronyms are, and see if any of them
especially the RTD Moffat ones. And see how many of them has something in it or something that's related to them going to the message boards and basically going troll la 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 la. Oh wow! I think I may owe Russell a kick in the dick for this one too. Thank you for helping Moffat give birth the idea of Riversong. You fucking idiot.
Her true two fathers.
Well, let's face it, Riversong can never be the product of one mind.
Well, the thing is, River Song in the episode she was in was tolerable.
She was tolerable and somewhat interesting, and then they just let Moffat take full control and went to a place called Stupid.
It went to a place called Mary Sue.
Mm-hmm.
Because pretty much from the second she shows up in Series 5, she starts being over the top, annoying, and she doesn't stop.
Let's take this character and push it into an incinerator, and let's just be done with it. Good day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the thing. There's the fan people out there that love River Song.
I never understood them.
Best character ever. Da 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 da. Oh my God, River Song is so cool. And then there's those of us that know a Mary Sue, and we see a Mary Sue.
By the way, I heard a certain chuckle. Hi, Fireheart.
Hey.
Yeah, you missed it. We actually started on time.
We started on time and
actually-
everybody missed it.
We were actually ready to go 20 minutes prior to the stream for once.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're sitting here shooting the breeze on Greek mythology for like 15 minutes prior.
Mentioning that is more interesting than talking about River Song.
Anyway, so that is all the news, done basically on time.
Oh my God, I don't know what to think.
So we've got about 4 minutes to kill here. Anybody have anything else to say other than hi, Thomas?
I recently watched this week. I binged all of The Gifted and Inhumans.
Okay, I can understand the first one. I need to catch up on it, but I can understand it. But the second one, why?
Because I try to keep up on comic shows, and the CW verse is on break, and there are definitely some things that I found problematic with it, but I didn't see anything so much worse than other shows as to justify the amount of hate that it's received. I haven't really looked up other people's opinions to see what they pointed out.
I think the majority of the hate is because it's such a badly done show compared to what they could have been basing it on.
That and the fact that the characters they're using, I don't know if it's an actor lack of enthusiasm or just how they're interpreted.
Or how badly they're interpreted or something, yeah.
Is just completely uninteresting.
I can definitely see, there are a lot of issues where I was just watching, I would like, that seems like a directorial decision and it seems like a bad one. And that I found myself saying that multiple times per episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even before watching it, I do recall saying, like, there are Inhumans that are well known and popular, and they didn't use them.
Mm-hmm.
And then of the ones that they did use, of the better known, I mean, and I'm not an Inhumans expert. I mainly know them from a few sources, but not the actual. I've never read the actual Inhumans book itself. But of the other well-known ones, one never wears his full costume, and then the other one has her power stripped from her in the first episode.
Well, and
Which
then
just makes it all the worse.
Yeah.
the fact that the main character Black Bolt is mute means you have to get an actor that can express his emotions in other ways.
I
Yes.
thought his facial acting was pretty good.
Really?
All I've seen is bland derp face.
Yeah, I watched like the first couple of episodes, unless he improves greatly in later.
Maybe.
Because his first couple of episodes, his acting was pretty freaking block of wood.
I mean, there were a few where I couldn't really determine what expression he was going for, but he does what the fuck face very good.
Well, that seems to be his resting face. That doesn't
do remind
help,
you that
Bill.
this is still a person that was and is the charismatic leader
Of the Inhumans.
Inhumans.
And he's a
For
block of
many-
wood that just has a constant confused look.
And this is despite not being able to talk. So yes, what the fuck face does not a leader make?
Just gas Trump.
Now, on the other hand, The Gifted, I really, really like. I quite enjoy that series. I don't know what you thought about it, Bill, but
I liked it more than Inhumans.
That's
I'm
an
trying to
easy
remember
one to
what
make.
else. I'm trying to remember what else I just watched. Oh, that's right. That's right. Runaways is the other one, and I actually, I mean,
I like Runaways too. I like both those,
Mhm.
both The Gifted and Runaways. Those I will sit
yeah,
down and watch.
Runaways got off to a really slow start, but picked up toward the more recent episodes. Um, The Gifted, I like all right, but it's not one of my favorite. Like, I don't like it as much as the CW shows.
No, there's something about the CW shows that are magic, and we're going to get a little addition to that magic, apparently. Although
Oh.
they haven't outright and said it, apparently Black Lightning is going to be integrated into the CW verse.
I figured it would be like toward the end of its first season or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
like
but
Supergirl.
the
well,
latest
Supergirl was like toward the end of the second season.
the
but-
latest DC TV suit up video seemed to really kind of hint that they're going that way.
Black Lightning, is that the adult Static Shock?
No,
I think Black Lightning and Static Shock were kind of the same concept, but I think they came from two different sources
Oh.
Came
that
from- they
both
came from
became
two
part of one
different
universe.
they came from
s-
two different eras
yeah.
too.
Static
But-
was not originally DC, but I think DC bought them.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like originally Wildstorm or something.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong on that, but I know it was one of those subset, Wildstorm or Milestone or something like that. One of those comics that got folded into the DC universe. But Black Lightning is the same. I mean, Black Lightning is basically Black Vulcan, if you remember the old Super Friends stuff, but with a different costume and a different origin. But basically the same power set.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to update Black Vulcan then. All right.
Well, they couldn't use Black Lightning in the old Super Friends show because of licensing issues.
Oh, so they made an
created
alternative
Black
then.
Vulcan, which, yeah.
As a stand-in?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's literally that old. He's from the 60s, early 70s of DC. He's like the first African-American DC Comics hero.
Whereas Static really comes off as a 90s character, and I'm guessing
Yeah,
that's really
and
written.
there's rumors that in later parts of Black Lightning, Static may come in as his sidekick, essentially.
Oh, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Whereas, comparatively, since Titans is only going to be on the DC streaming service, it'll probably never be integrated with CW, except maybe tiny Easter eggs.
We're not sure about that. As far as we're aware, it's the same production crew.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think I did hear that.
So they're talking that while we might not get the whole thing, there's rumors that we might be seeing Nightwing.
That would be nice.
Because the Titans one isn't going with the Robin Teen Titans. They're going with the Nightwing era Dick Grayson.
Oh, so they're
So-
going for the late 70s, early 80s then.
Yeah, they're going for the proper setup at the time, and so there's rumors that we might be seeing Nightwing on like Supergirl or something, Supergirl or Flash or something like
I mean,
that.
and Bruce Wayne and Bloodhaven have both been mentioned in Arrow, so it would make sense for him to appear there.
Yep.
And he has a similar power set.
Yep.
Power set in quotes.
Non-power set.
You mean that they have a lot of money and they can spend all that money to make really cool gadgets? Yes.
And martial arts.
And martial arts or combat
Okay.
abilities of some kind. Yes.
And before we go to our thing, one more rumor, and this is rumor. Rumor has it that after this year, Gotham may be heading to the CW.
Sweet.
And this is because of the Disney Fox buyout. Remember the fact that Disney owns Marvel and now owns the intellectual property for Fox. The problem is DC is owned by Warner Brothers, which is essentially Disney's rival. And of course, DC is Marvel's rival. So They
Yeah,
don't.
WB is probably looking to try and find a way to buy out DreamWorks or something by now.
Yeah, but either way,
I believe DreamWorks is owned by Universal, so that's not happening.
because of the buyout, there might be an opt-out clause in Gotham that would allow them to sell the show to another network. Just because suddenly they don't want their show owned by Disney. Because that would give them rights to television Batman, essentially.
Yeah, Warner Brothers should be going, nope.
Yep.
As hard as possible, the idea.
So, while they probably do have a license through the end of the year,
It's gonna flip pretty quickly as soon as they can get to,
Yeah, you might see Gotham on the CW. It might go to CBS or just another network that's not Disney owned.
Just something that Warner Brothers has a hand in more so than Fox at this point.
Yeah, it's more to the point something that Disney doesn't have a hand in. So just keep your eye out for that little piece of news.
Right.
It's a strong possibility. Either that or Gotham may just be done, which I'm hoping not because it's a really good show.
Yeah, it's either going to move or it's going to fold, one of the two.
So anyway, it is now time for our 5-minute challenge.
Whose turn is it?
Whose turn is it?
Whose turn at the wheel?
I think I'm about up.
Okay.
You ready for it, Bill?
Oh.
Tell
I'm
me
as
when.
ready as I'm going to get. Okay, give me a countdown.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, we pick up at the end of Torchwood Series 1, where Captain Jack heard the TARDIS and went sprinting for it. We see him running across the pavement, and the Doctor and Martha don't seem to notice him as they take off in the TARDIS. All of a sudden, the Doctor and Martha notice that the TARDIS is catapulting itself to the end of time for some reason. They get there, and then they find Captain Jack's lifeless corpse now on the ground outside the TARDIS. Jack comes back to life to the surprise of Martha, but not really the Doctor. Introductions are made, and then they meet the future kind, which are humans devolved into predators. They go into, I believe it's called the Silo, in order to seek refuge, where they are brought to meet Professor Yana, who is the resident scientist and who has the goal of taking them to Utopia. They help him out with his plans, and during the process of performing various engineering tasks, Yana happens to mention that he has a clock that doesn't work, or a watch that doesn't work. He pulls it out, and Martha is shocked because it's actually the Time Lord device that the Doctor used in Human Nature Family of Blood. She goes to tell the Doctor, but Yana, having had it fully brought to his attention, opens the watch and turns into the Master, where he kills his assistant and enters into the TARDIS. He is in her last acts, his assistant Chantho shot him, so he is now regenerating. The Doctor, Jack, and Martha try to get to the TARDIS, but the Master's already locked it and regenerated to a new form. As he escapes, the Doctor manages to lock the TARDIS into only being able to travel between the 21st century and there. Then the Doctor then fixes Jack's vortex manipulator to bring them to the 21st century. They arrive and find that the Master is now Prime Minister of Britain, and he enacts a chase to try to track down the Doctor and his companions, which ultimately fails. However, the Master has introduced what he claims is an alien species, the Toglophane, which he uses as a method to take over the Earth. In the process, he takes Jack and the Doctor prisoner, and Martha goes traveling the Earth, ostensibly to collect MacGuffins, Dragon Balls, what have you. And then, as Martha finally ends up being captured, it's reaching the end of a countdown timer, which I'm not sure. I don't remember if they said why the countdown timer existed, but it does.
Because that was the launch for the basic.
Oh, that's right. That was the Master's launch of his fleet to invade the universe with Toglophane. They also have discovered that the Master has a paradox machine, which allows people from the future that the Master transformed into Toglophane to come to Earth and kill the past of the human race without ceasing to exist. At the end of the countdown, using the telepathic network that the Master used to essentially hypnotize Great Britain and or the rest of the world, they wish really hard and turn the Doctor back into his full-powered self. He becomes Time Jesus with a shield of plot devicery and manages to overpower the Master. The Master threatens to blow up his fleet, but the Doctor calls his bluff because he knows he would never kill himself. And then they destroy the paradox machine, causing the Earth to revert back to how it was a year before, except for everybody who was a main character in the plot. They basically found the Dragon Balls and used them to reverse everyone's memories of Boo. The end. And then Martha leaves the
Dragon
TARDIS.
Balls. Got to find the Dragon Ball. Oh, you forgot one thing.
I
The
did?
Master dies at the end.
Yes, that's right. The Master dies, refuses to regenerate, and then he's shot by his wife, refuses to regenerate, and then his wife is seen pulling a ring out of his Darth Vader funeral pyre, while I believe the voiceover of the Master laughing is heard.
Okay, with that last little tidbit, you got it in 4 minutes, 37 seconds.
Dragon Ball. Got to find.
So you
Sorry,
just made it in. You did 3 episodes in just under 5 minutes.
I know I couldn't have because there were a lot of little bits that he left at my anal retentive.
Well,
would
that's
have.
yeah. You're anal retentive, and that's your downfall. The rest of us are starting to learn how to streamline it.
Yeah, there were a lot of things where if we were doing single episode summaries, I would have covered.
Yeah.
But that were only worth a line in a 3-episode summary.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing about the non-existent MacGuffin
There
gun.
are episodes where I can literally sum it up in about 15 seconds. The Doctor and them show up, a bunch of shit happens.
And they leave.
You know?
That's every episode. Hello.
Yes, I know.
The Doctor shows up, they do a thing, and they leave. Bye-bye.
But there's some episodes
That's the
where
premise of the
there's
show.
not really anything more relevant than that. I hate to say it, but there are a few episodes where that is like the most relevant part of it. Anyway, so now we're going to what we liked about the episode overall. And Aaron, I know you're a big fan of this one, so you're first.
Woohoo! Oh, geez, there's so much to say. So much to say. I think I'm going to say I like Captain Jack Harkness overall. He's present in all 3. And I don't know. I felt that he kind of pulled everything together. He was a great kind of third or second companion there. Kind of built up his character as having traveled with the Doctor for a little bit, so he's got experience. I don't know, and I think a lot of his wit, and it's just basically I really like how he wound up, being in this. It really built him up. I liked it.
Before Torchwood decided, no, he's a complete and total asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when Torchwood went south, so...
Yeah, it's like, basically, what was it? Torchwood 3 was basically Captain Jack's a monster, here's why. Alright. Alright, Bill, you next. What did you like about it overall?
I am going to go with Sir Derek Jacobi. Just the amount of depth he portrays in his 2 characters, you get Yana for most of an episode, but you get a fairly multidimensional character there, and it's, acted in multiple ways. And then, of course, in the brief amount of time he has the Master, he goes a few different directions with it, and it was all great.
Now, Derek Jacobi is a wonderful actor. And he's now working with Big Finish, isn't he?
Yes.
He is now, yes. He's going to be the Master for the Time War.
And that's going to be interesting to see how he makes it different from his portrayal.
He makes it different by having a beard.
For one.
Yeah. Okay.
That mastery beard.
Tangent. Tangent alert. Did anybody notice the Jacoby to Sims regeneration scene when he's in the lit glow? Anyone noticed he suddenly developed a beard out of nowhere?
I didn't notice that.
No.
Yeah, when he's
I
opening
did
his
not,
mouth and
no.
screaming, it's a light trick, but it really makes him look like he has the
Oh,
classic
okay.
master beard.
Gotcha.
Oh.
So
Did
possibly an
not
Easter egg.
notice that.
Yeah, well, I've seen this like 150 times, so
I've seen this
Most
at
of
least
the
several
times that I've
times, and I don't.
Oh yeah, I
Here.
see. I found the image on Google, so I can see.
yeah. You actually get to see like master beard going on there. It's kind
I
of
don't know if
interesting.
that's a beard so much as the shadow of his chin.
But I mean, it's almost a deliberate lighting effect because the lighting effect also taints his hair dark.
Mm.
And while Sims's hair wasn't the white it was later on, it was also nowhere near that level of dark. And Jacoby had white hair as Yana, so
Mm,
it was a deliberate attempt by the CGI.
I don't know. I would have to look at that again.
I actually thought
I
it
don't
was
know.
cool.
It's a little bit of a stretch to me
I
without looking at
sent
it
it
again.
in the Discord chat if you didn't see it, Matt.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm just not seeing it as a beard. It's an obvious chin shadow.
Neither am I.
No, it's a chin shadow. Plain simple. I'm sorry, Randy. We say that Aaron
Well,
stretches.
no one's-
You're stretching on
no
this one a
no
little bit,
one's
I
saying
think.
it's not that. He's saying that it's kind of made to look as the way
I
a
don't-
beard would.
I don't know. I don't know if it's purposeful or not.
A light beard? Yeah, it looks more like they tried to do a rim around his face, a rim of light, and it just kind of came off looking like a light beard or a beard of light flowing off of him.
No, that's not what they're talking about. I think they're talking about the chin shadow. That's supposed to match his dark hair. Anyway, we sit here forever. We must move on.
Except, Matt, I just mentioned that nobody had dark hair.
Except he does, and he has it already at that point. Anyway.
All right, Thomas, you're next.
I'm kind of glad that Bill took Derek Jacobi because I was thinking of diverting away from that anyway, so I do have a backup. Honestly, Chantho, like something like it's just watching it. I was like, wow, here's an fully developed alien, despite like no real backstory aside from she's the last of her kind, whatever. This doesn't seem like anything we've had from Moffat. Like, I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and watch.
We've had
stuff,
blue people, but we've not had blue people that were this developed.
Yeah, like this was like, holy crap! She has her own speech pattern, all this kind of shit. The prosthetics in that look really cool, and it's just like,
and it's not even just
can we have
prosthetics.
more
There's
of
actually
this,
a little bit of
please?
animatronic in it too.
Yeah, she's actually got like a little bit of seems like a romantic interest in Derek
professor
Jacobi.
character, yeah.
Maybe like a student
yeah,
crush
that was.
on him.
Yeah, you are correct, Aaron, because basically that was the allegory that was going on. It's actually something I was going to talk about if I found a place to. So you've given me it. Thank you.
Ta-da.
If you really look at Yana, you know, ignoring the fact that he will be the master, but knowing that he was a hidden Time Lord, wearing, you know, basically, if you look at his style of dress, he's wearing basically Victorian Edwardian era clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to help save the human race with a companion. He's basically the Doctor.
yeah.
If only the Doctor would travel with an obviously alien companion.
Well, he has an audios, and remember Russell T originally came from the audio world as before.
Oh yeah, Chris
you know,
and Frobisher.
Yep. Anyway,
Frobisher.
but he's, so her crush on him was basically supposed to be the analogy of Martha's crush on the Doctor, which was a big part of the storyline this season.
Mm-hmm.
As much as most of us were going, again?
Yeah.
But so really it was something that I kind of saw in this it was kind of diffused by what we learned in the later episodes, but in Utopia alone, you're like, so yeah, the Master really, there was a point where the Master could have been the Doctor if he hadn't had basically the equivalent of the Joker's one bad day,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something happened in the Master's past where he went left and the Doctor went right, and that fundamentally changed him. But in this reboot of his life, he was allowed to go right and basically became a lesser version of the Doctor, which I thought was cool at the time, which made me really like Yana's character and have an appreciation for it more. And then they revealed the whole drums madness thing, in the next episode, and I'm like, oh, damn.
Well, that was technically a temporary thing, hopefully, supposedly. So, because I don't think the newest chance that he played the Master from this particular storyline, that the drums were ever mentioned again. So, one can assume it was just something that Rassilon planted in him.
We'll see what happens if they ever bring that up again.
Maybe it's in the other Missy Chronicles.
Okay, Tim, how about you?
I really liked Martha's character arc in this story. And I felt that if it was kind of appropriate that she was the companion who had the mission of spreading the word about the Doctor to the ends of the earth.
You spread bird to the ends of the earth.
She's also the companion of the David Tennant era that gets the best ending.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you count Clone Doctor as a.
I'm not. I'm talking the main companions. So I'm talking Rose, Martha, Donna.
Well, I'm saying it depends on which you count to be Rose's ending.
I'm
her
talking
original ending versus.
I'm talking her original ending because
Yeah.
I'm talking by season, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because Martha leaves the TARDIS amiably. It's just her thought of, okay, I'm done. I've got stuff I need to take care of. So I can't do this while I take care of this. Whereas, Rose trapped on a parallel world, Donna forced to forget all of her adventures. There are a couple of very shitty endings. So this was by far the most upbeat ending in the Tennant era. Done by probably the least liked companion out of all of them.
Yeah.
Oh no, I liked her fine.
Oh,
It's when they kept beating on about Rose all the time that I started to groan.
well, yeah, a lot of people like Rose less now in retrospect, but
I was okay with Martha because Martha actually had a story arc where she grew up out of the whole lovey-dovey Doctor thing.
Yeah.
Going back, I do enjoy her
That's
story
what I mean.
a lot better than when I first saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm talking on first opinion. 'Cause when you see her, she's just kind of like whinier Rose, She has
I don't know if she was that whiny.
No, she had
No.
most of the same tropes as Rose, but all of the that's what about me? It was weird because it was basically she was filling the exact same personality role. And fans
Except a bit more educated.
a bit more educated. And then we hit Donna, who, I hated her when she first showed up in her Christmas special, but during the 4th season, she was absolutely brilliant. So Donna's by far my favorite companion.
Yeah, I believe we started off that season going, oh god, what's she going to do? And all of a sudden we get that scene between the windows.
And we're just like, oh my god, this is good.
This is actually really good. Yes, continue.
Yes.
Anyway.
All right, so Matt,
that was
you're
Aaron's,
next.
so to me. Okay. Overall thing. Where to go? We mentioned most of the cast. We've mentioned a few other things. I'm going to have to go with... I like the big ensemble. I love how everyone plays off of one another. I like how the first version of the Master as the Professor works with one another, and then how they change that. I like how Captain Jack plays with the both new and old people. How Martha plays with everyone, and how the new Master plays off of everybody, especially how he plays off of Tennant at the time. Just the chemistry with all these characters actually works really well because we at least have enough footnotes up to this point.
I know Captain Jack isn't ageist, but phrasing, man.
Mm-hmm.
You said when Captain Jack plays with new and old people.
Yikes.
Ew.
Wow, Bill. Wow, Bill.
I just took it the way Jack would have taken it.
Here's your mind, here's the gutter. They met.
Again, he's doing it the way Captain Jack would take it.
But anyways.
Basically, Captain Jack is John Barrowman turned up to 11.
Anyways, character chemistry. Main character chemistry was really good in this one. For all three parts.
Okay, so I'm going to take the one piece of cast that hasn't been mentioned, and I'm going to say David Tennant, because I really enjoy David.
Because you are a Tennant fanboy, and I would never steal that from you.
I am.
You're not going to talk about Martha's family?
Oh, you mean the one-note background characters?
Yeah.
Damn. I don't disagree, but harsh.
I'm sorry, but that's what they technically are. They were all season.
Yeah, they didn't really have much character evolution. But no, I really, every time I go back to watch Tennant act in these episodes, I'm just like, oh god, yes, just the way the self he puts forward to these are just unbelievably good. It's just, Tennant will always be my doctor just because of that hyper enthusiasm. It is something that you see a bit of in Jodie Whittaker, by the way. In that
so far,
the
yeah.
first few seconds, and I'm really hoping she can hold on to that, because that would just be, it would be like the second coming of Tennant to me.
Mm-hmm.
If she can hold that manic enthusiasm, I would be a happy little fanboy.
I saw a meme earlier today pointing out that she used Tennant's catchphrase, and like that's true. That's been her one word so far. So we'll see if that means anything.
Yeah, but it was more than just the words she used. It was the expression on her face, just the air that she was putting out screamed of the Tennant era's just manicness. And if that's the case, I'm going to love every minute of what's coming up, because I always loved that about Tennant. You really get to see it in these episodes, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so what didn't you like about the episodes? And Aaron, you're up first.
I didn't like, geez, I'm actually going to say I didn't really like John Sims' version of the Master.
Yeah.
As I was mentioning before the podcast, I'm listening to his dialogue, and I would really pay good money to have Mark Hamill redub most of his lines in Joker voice.
Yeah.
Because they'd work beautifully. I could hear them in my head, I could hear Head Hamill Joker repeating those lines with the proper Joker inflections, and it's just unbelievably cool.
No, it's not just like it's not that the master hasn't been campy and he hasn't done his fair share of gloating in that. It's just John Sims just does it to the 10th degree, to the point where it's just a little. It's too over the top. There's no subtlety to it.
There's difference between chewing the scenery and having devoured it and the foreground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I much preferred his master, the return of his master at the end of this previous season here.
Yes,
so.
he was much more where the master should be, and he played it much better.
And apparently that's how he wanted to play the master, and
they should have.
And the others was just like, no, more over the top, more hyper.
He's just a little bit too hyper. At least here he's not as bad as End of Time. End of Time,
yes, End of Time is the worst.
He's literally the master on speed in End of Time.
Yeah.
Eat, yeah.
Yeah.
Freak out skeleton face.
Although I do love that Tennant calls him Skeletor because of that.
Bubbling doctor.
But are you saying like off screen they do, or
No, he's
you mean
he's
the doctor does?
Yeah, the doctor
Okay.
describing the master to I forget which one of it's either one of the no, it was one of the green aliens. He's trying to describe the master up there, and eventually he just goes with Skeletor, and I'm just like, yes. And I could tell that was a Tennant ad lib too.
Right, and when you said Tennant for a second, I'm imagining them at a convention panel that I haven't watched, with him saying, ask Skeletor's opinion over there, and Sim being like, what?
No, it's he's describing it as the doctor, but I could tell it wasn't what they wrote.
It was him adding his own little Tennant to this.
Yep, which was something I enjoyed about Tennant. Anyway, Bill, you're next. What didn't you like about the episode?
I understand why it happened, but I'm going to say that the effects, especially, I think the second episode, some of them, where the real world meets the CGI, was just jarring enough to really take me out of the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you feel. I felt that in the third episode, actually, in particular myself.
I think they definitely overused the CGI, and I understand like this is kind of a big episode that they kind of had to, but I still took away from the episode.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Thomas.
Kind of piggybacking off of that to a specific thing. The Doctor turning into like a tiny little fucking Dobby creature. It was
I
Dr. Dobby.
I refer to him as Gollum Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what the shit? You have this really good age makeup, and then you're like, nah, let's just CGI him into a midget. Like, okay.
Yeah, the weird thing is, they did one in one episode, and they did the other the next. It was just like, you would almost swear it was almost like a different director took over and went, nah, that wasn't good enough.
That's how you would know which episode you were watching.
But yeah, it's kind of a what the hell. But at the same time, I could tell you when we first watched it, back then I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. It was one of those things we really kind of geeked out about. Tim, how about you? Something you didn't like?
This is just a minor nitpick, but I didn't really like how they had to create a fictional president of the U.S.
Yeah. Well, yes,
but have springtime.
Yes, but you realize while still being a complete and total idiot, that particular president was enunciated his words a lot better than the one that was currently in office.
Yes.
Aaron pointed that out. I'm like, yep.
An article I read today, the person who was president at that time was listed as the third lowest, like in terms of like education level of how they spoke, of the past 15 presidents. Although his father was the one right below him.
Seriously?
So we know where he got it from.
Wow.
Seriously? I would have thought that would have been the other way around.
I would have almost thought so, but
Because Trump
Father-
is the lowest, and then it's GHW,
Fa-
and then it's
yeah,
GW.
Father was the second lowest, Son was the third lowest,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and Truman was fourth lowest.
I thought GH was better pronounced than GW. Because
I don't think I've seen HW make a speech to comment.
I remember his
oh,
speeches.
I remember his speeches. Oh God, what
Yeah.
clown shoes!
Yeah, the thing is though, at least he could speak his words. Unlike his son.
If you get fooled twice, you can't get fooled again. No.
I don't know,
but
did-
at least
did
no, at
HW
least
ever
he
say
said words
nuclear?
that made sense. You know, unlike actually, we're not here to talk about politics.
Anyway, yeah.
so-
Other than
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't mean to digress.
Yeah, you
the
got-
other
you
you
gotta-
did, and you did it hard.
Matt, what didn't you like about the
Overall
episode?
thing I didn't like. The Master's already been mentioned. Some of the visual effects. There was something I'm trying to remember what it was now. I actually had something on the top of my head. Oh, you know what? The first episode. What were they called? The Future People.
The future kind.
Yeah.
Future
The
kind,
Future
yeah.
Kind. Yeah, they looked like a J.C. Penney's ad trying to advertise clothing for the post-apocalypse.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really would have preferred it if they looked like something out of Mad Max.
Yeah, they needed to go a little further with the Mad Maxisms. They looked like a J.C. Penney's ad featuring leather this year, the new fad. Oh,
No,
and
I mean,
facial
they should-
piercings
they should've
apparently,
just
and
gone
shark
full
teeth.
on- they should have just gone full on Mad Max with the friggin' masks and
Masks,
They're
maybe someone
wearing
running around with
odd
assless
defense that they look
chaps.
like they found and put on. Yeah.
Someone with a hockey mask. Someone, come on, go real far with it. Come on.
Yeah.
Almost kind of wish they'd just been completely animalistic as well and not been able
Or
to,
yeah,
like,
or more
communicate with
animalistic
any
would have also
kind
worked
of
too.
English.
Yeah,
Well,
when
the
when
thing
they
is,
started
though-
speaking and yelling humans, that didn't help.
The thing is
Yeah.
though, they had to be smart enough to at least do the parts that they needed to in the plot, which was
So more Mad
If they-
Max would have been a better push.
yeah. If they had been completely animalistic and feral, they wouldn't have been intelligent enough to infiltrate the humans
Mm.
and
That's a simple
sabotage.
writing issue because like they snuck in like animals would or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's just a lot with them that doesn't quite mesh right. It's a good
Yeah,
idea, but it just didn't quite come off on screen.
All right. Well, that was basically all of mine, so I'm going to pass. And let's
Hammered
go
all of them,
to
huh?
favorite scenes. Aaron.
I think I'm going to go with Derek Jacobi's reveal.
Mm.
I am the master. That's just hair raising how and it's just so
And they also
unexpected.
play the Masters theme.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was just like was awesome.
Yeah, the gradual build up to that was actually
Mhm.
quite amazing.
Mm.
It worked beautifully. It was a great moment,
Yeah.
and nobody, I think, will ever be able to say otherwise. But somebody will try. Somebody will try.
Yeah.
They'll
Of
be
course,
dead
we're still
wrong.
kind of waiting.
They'll be dead
here.
wrong and they'll be their own bad opinion, but they
Yeah.
could say it wasn't.
All right. So, Bill, how about you? Favorite
My
scene?
favorite scene, I'm going to go with the phone call between the doctor and the master.
That is a unbelievably good scene.
Yeah, that's that moment of crushing, like, where can they possibly go from here? The master has won and he is still winning moment.
It is. I've had to replay that scene. It's of course been up on YouTube.
Mhm.
I've had to replay it a few times and re-listen to that dialogue because there's just so much emotion in that scene.
It's the number one scene I think of when I try to remember this episode.
It is truly a great scene. I can't really say more than that. I can't give it higher praise. It is one of Doctor Who at its best scenes, in my opinion. Just because there's so much emotion betrayed, and you finally get to hear certain aspects you'd only suspected about what happened to Gallifrey, and it was you could just feel the age-old animosity between these two. So enemies for so long, they're almost friends, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Thomas, favorite scene?
Okay, since the since the master reveal was taken, I am going to go with my second choice, which is Martha's departure. Just because, like, I actually, in retrospect, I remember really fucking hating the fact that her entire run was the absence of Rose. So the fact that she's just like, you know what, fuck this, I'm out.
Yep.
Was, like, very cathartic.
Yes, it was. Very much so, because it was a bad relationship, if you want to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
She was hanging around with this guy who was completely hung up over somebody else and wasn't really progressing. And at the same time, it provided the Doctor with enough catharsis to realize he needed to get on with his life.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Rose came up much until the end, when hanging out with Donna, so he got over that.
Of course, first he snogs the first girl he meets. I'm sure Martha would be livid to watch that episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also why I'm glad that they stopped that shit with Donna, because it made Donna's like run way more enjoyable. That they were just kind of friends hanging out rather than someone pining after the Doctor.
Yeah, you don't want the will they romance with the Doctor. You want either friends or teacher and student. I mean, that's really the two best relationships the Doctor can have.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, how about you?
Well, the obvious ones have been taken, so I'm gonna be me, and I'm gonna say my favorite scene is the scene where the Master gasses his cabinet.
God damn it!
Cabinet. I just love the, oh no, this isn't funny. This is funny. This is...
Again, listen to that dialogue. Insert Mark Hamill Joker voice for that.
Yeah,
like,
that's actually one of the few scenes I would have inserted the Mark Hamill Joker for that.
What is that? It's a gas mask. Why are you wearing a gas mask?
The other one
the gas. Duh.
The other one is when he takes over for the president on the Valiant. You can do Mark Hamill Joker voice from that too. I want both those scenes Hamill dubbed, or dubbed by a Hamill impersonator.
A darkly amusing scene.
And especially the gas scene, remove the Master theme and add in the Joker music.
The
From the animated
old
series.
Batman the animated series Joker music. Yes.
Do 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 do.
That evil circus melody.
I guess then you'd have to dub over the wife with a Harley voice. But I don't think she's in those two scenes, but still.
No, she's not in those particular... Actually, she's maybe in the later one with the president, but she doesn't talk.
She's in the scene right before the cabinet scene, but not in the cabinet scene itself.
I think the most she does in that particular scene is take a jelly baby.
That's
All right. All right, so who was it that did that? I think it was Tim, right?
That was Tim's.
Yeah.
So it'd be
so
me.
it's now you, Matt, and I know Tim just stole yours.
I'm trying to think now. Running through other ideas. I'll go... Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Doctor trying to persuade the Master to regenerate. Because even though they're at such odds with one another, the Doctor just doesn't want to be alone.
Yes, and he's begging and pleading, and
At least give it one more chance. At least give it one more chance to not be crazy. Please come on, you can come with me.
It is an awesome scene. It is a very emotional scene.
Also very emotional, especially from Tennant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It shows that, yes, it was another chance for Tennant to really pull out his acting chops. And it was just unbelievably good.
And even though you don't want to see, at the same time, you almost wish the Master was gone. At the same time, it's heartbreaking to see how distraught the Doctor is of being officially alone again.
Mm-hmm. You know, even if it's my worst enemy, there's somebody else. I'd rather be with my worst enemy than be the lone in the universe. And now I'm back to being alone. And that pitiful sound he makes after the Master passes on, it's just, it's a scene that always made me misty-eyed. All right, so my favorite scene is a scene that if you were watching this on any form of media format, you will not have seen. Because it is a scene that hasn't been on since it originally aired in Britain back in 2007.
Oh.
And that is, I think, the second or third scene in the final episode when the Master enters the bridge with the Doctor. Now, what you guys saw was he entered the bridge and immediately went to the window with the Doctor in the wheelchair. What you don't know is that there's an entire scene before that where he dances onto the bridge to the tune of the Scissor Sisters' I Can't Decide.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. I always remember it that way.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, it's not on the US DVD. It's not on any of the broadcast versions that we have here in the United States.
And it wasn't on the version that I saw on Aussie Netflix either.
And I believe that's due to the international rights of the song. The scene is choreographed to the song.
Yes.
So if they replaced the song, the scene no longer made sense. So they simply cut it. And you can find it on YouTube if you search for Doctor Who Last of the Time Lords I Can't Decide. And it is an interesting scene where the Master comes on the scene and he's literally bouncing to the music because it's in canon that the music is taking place.
Yeah, he's supposedly playing it as he's running around.
Welcome for you, Lord and Play. Now playing track 3. I can't decide whether you should, and he's bouncing across the bridge to this.
Ringing a bell to get the Doctor to come out of a doghouse and all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah, where he's basically treating everyone like ass. Martha's mom has to serve him coffee in a maid outfit, and he drinks. He takes a sip and spits it out and pours it on the floor. And basically, it's a scene. It's basically Sims at his best worst. At the same time, it's beautifully choreographed to the music, which made it quite a good scene. Mm-hmm. And the song is incredibly catchy, so...
Yeah, that does not hurt it at all.
Yep. All right, least favorite scene. And Aaron, you're up first.
I'm trying to think of one, and I can't think of one off.
So you're going to pass, then?
I'm going to take a pass.
All right. Bill.
I'm going to go with the Time Lord Jesus scene. The concept isn't terrible, but the execution is
silly.
Not yeah.
Silly is silly. Yeah, matter of fact, here's a perfect image.
It's the beginning of basically Russell T's Deus Ex on it. It's pretty because it's pretty obvious if you watch a lot of this that Russell had a Jesus definitely had a Jesus analogy going with the Doctor.
Especially this episode and the next one are two major ones.
Mm-hmm. There's even a few scenes in, like, going back to the Eccleston era that had it, so it's an ongoing thing. But
just this once everybody lives.
No, it wasn't just that. There was a few other bits. Anyway.
Well, that's the first one that comes to mind. No, I'm sure there's a lot more.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. All right. So, Thomas, how about you?
I kind of mentioned it as my worst aspect, but but I'll go with it first scene as well. Generally, like little Golem Doctor, that whole thing is just like, okay, with the old age makeup, I could take this seriously, but with this fucking CGI
Dobby
monstrosity,
Doctor.
I just can't. Yeah. Oh god, it's just like, and the CGI has not aged well.
Nope, it hasn't anymore.
Right.
No, I used to say wonders about the mill. Looking at some of the older CGI, I'm now wondering what the hell I was smoking. I'm wondering if
Wasn't
I'm
this
going
around
to
the
go...
time that we were losing the mill anyways?
Might have been. So
Because
they were
it's
having-
kind of showing in the particular this three-parter.
Because I know the mill was, responsible for the wonderful werewolf we saw the season before.
Oh yes, that werewolf was amazing.
But
Best werewolf in the last 2 decades almost at this point now.
But now going back on some of this, I'm kind of going,
Oof.
that's a little iffy. All right. So Tim, how about you? Least favorite scene?
Least favorite scene is now I don't really dislike the scene, but I feel as frustrated as the character in the scene. If that makes sense. It's the scene where the master kills Chantho, and I just feel like when he's saying, "I was looking at this watch for years and never thought occurred to you to ask what this watch was. You were just sitting there like a dummy, like you." And I thought, as harsh as it sounds, I sort of get his frustration there.
Yeah, why wouldn't she have ever mentioned that watch before?
Yeah.
Well, it's also the master being completely irrational.
Mm-hmm.
It's him being really angry now that he's back in full control.
He's basically taking the fact that he was human for years and couldn't do anything about it out on the nearest person.
Yeah, because, the watch had a perception filter on it, so it's not like, she would have noticed it any more than he did, but still.
Quite possibly, yeah.
It's still one of those things that you're just like, okay. Master asshole mode, got it. Check. Matt, how about you?
Oh, worst scene. There's a couple of them in particular. I think the one that really takes me completely out of it is the scene where the Doctor and the Master just randomly teleport to a rock quarry for no damn reason. Zero reason whatsoever, as we also see the really fakey nukes every once in a while too. It's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, because it really felt like the story was over at that point after Jesus Doctor suit. It really should have been done, but they managed to milk it out for another minute or two with this sudden random teleport. It kind of felt drawn out.
And they put a filter over it, possibly to even disguise the CG rocket somewhat.
Yeah, and the filter only actually made it more obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of felt like a writing standpoint. My brain almost always forgets that happens.
Yeah, I almost forget that it happens too, and then I see it again. It's like, oh god, this happened, didn't it? Shit.
All right.
Would have been an always epic finale.
All right, so my least favorite scene, and this is something that just kind of annoyed me in retrospect, and it's not really, terrible. It just kind of annoyed me. Is the Doctor talking with Professor Yana about his experiment, and then it's like, but you know what? Turns a knob, flips a switch, and turns it all on. Like, that's all he had to do. And I looked that entire scene, and he touched no controls, the previous portions of those scenes. He looked at a bunch of stuff, but didn't touch anything.
So in other words, the doctor's being a dick.
Kind of. It was kind of a douchey thing. It was just kind of like, oh, but you didn't try this. If he had been there in the scene, flipping a switch here, poking a control there, kind of like he was working it out that way, rather than
one thing, yeah.
Other than swish and flick, it would have made more sense to me. I could have bought it a little better, but instead that was just shortened to you turn a knob, you flip a switch, and it turns on. Kind of does make him seem a bit dickish. Kind of makes it very wave of magic one.
Yeah, especially when like his immediate response to figuring it out is, "Oh, I'm the doctor. I'm just amazing."
Yep. I basically fixed it using the rule of cool. Deal with it.
Yeah, that was the same scene where he was like, "Oh, I don't call people genius much because, well, I'm in the room."
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like delivered by like an old Who doctor, that probably would have worked, but
Tom Baker could have gotten away with it.
Tom Baker could have put it in such a way that you would have gone okay. or
His
you
Baker
would have,
was
or
kind of
the
his
sixth doctor would have said it more likely too.
I was like, the fourth doctor was kind of an ass too.
Oh yeah. No, it just hit me as being particularly hand wavy done, and I didn't like that. Okay, so final thoughts, Aaron. Since we're already over by a couple of minutes.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts, go.
Okay. I really enjoyed this. It's 3 episodes that really kind of come together, build up a lot of suspense, bring back an old foe that we haven't seen. And it's not just another bunch of Daleks trying to invade. I highly recommend seeing this, especially for Derek Jacobi. And I actually wasn't too annoyed with Tennant in this. In fact, I haven't really been annoyed with him for a while now, so...
Kind of wondering if you were a little harsh on him when you first saw
Because
these.
he was overmilked at the time.
Yeah, well, he was overmilked and he was like super popular, and I've just thought he was a boring, bland, humanized doctor. So, and I still kind of think of that way. He's definitely not as quirky as say Tom Baker or even John Pertwee. So, but still, this made it
I don't know. John
enjoyable.
Pertwee comes off as serious to me, but anyway.
All right, so Bill.
Okay. I sometimes remember this episode harshly because of a few of John Sims scenes combined with retroactive interference from the end of time. But watching it, especially when it's fresh in my mind, definitely really like it. Especially taking it as a trilogy. With everything with Utopia followed by the thriller essentially of the second episode, and finally the sci-fi epic of the third episode, and they go well together. So it's a good story all together.
All right, Thomas.
God, I actually haven't watched these in forever, and I do remember having like way more negative opinions of this than I probably do now. Maybe it's just because of like kind of nostalgia for this era in some way, but
or maybe it's because your bar has been lowered due to so much Moffat.
Possibility as well.
But yeah, while I still have issues with stuff in this is not as bad as I remember it being. I'll say that much.
All right, Tim.
This was a very good payoff to like the things that had been like hinted at leading throughout the season. I think this was the best season finale I've seen in at least of the David Tennant era.
Well, Aaron and I were just actually arguing that prior to the stream. It's also the only one that doesn't involve Daleks.
and I liked basically all the character arcs of not just of the episode this series in miniature, but it shows like Martha Jones's character arc from like her first appearance to she is now like it doesn't nothing seems rushed or forced, like it's all very natural.
All right.
And I also really liked David Tennant's performance overall. So this I think was a pretty good episode.
All right. Matt?
Outside of little moment tweaks and maybe a slightly less oversugared up master, there's not much that I can really complain about this one either. Most of the acting is really good. Most of the plot setup was really well done. Some of it was hinted at literally all season, if not longer. Just the best things that they made things based on for this series. My brain frazzled name can't. Anyways, just how well they did world building for these first 3 or 4 seasons, and this was probably one of the biggest pinnacles of that. And it just shows, and the levels of acting from even people who were only in it for one episode to people who really wanted to show their chops by the end of the storyline. Just such good work all the way through for the most part.
All right. So, looking at these and then looking at Doctor Who in recent years, it becomes really obvious how much better a showrunner Russell T Davies is than Stephen Moffat. Just in terms of a lot of the things Matt said, a lot of the overarching story of the season, the way it was integrated well, the way things led into each other, and just the overall quality of the writing and acting. Mind you, it's not without its flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Russell T was fond of a good reset button, and this one has the frickin' grand high Deus Ex reset button at the end of it.
I'm Jeebus.
He had a few bad ideas, one of which was to make John Sims really act like a 5-year-old on caffeine, or as we call him, the Joker. But other than that, this comes off as a really well-placed episode, and it really shows the highlights of both Doctor and Companion and acting. And just overall, it's better quality than anything we've seen from Doctor Who in years, save maybe the 50th anniversary special. It's very enjoyable. All right, so now we go to ratings. And Aaron, I believe you were first.
Yep. I'm gonna go ahead, and I like it enough to give it a 4.5.
4.5 out of 5.
Say 4.5 as well.
Bill gives it a 4.5, which is the highest score Bill has given anything all season, people.
Really?
The highest score. You have been a negative Nancy.
Actually, it's tied for Terror of the Autons.
Okay.
But Bill has not given anything else higher than given anything else above a 4 this entire season.
I do try to be stingy with my 4.5s and 5s.
All right, so Thomas.
Let's see. I think I'll keep the trend going. It's comparing it to everything we've reviewed this season. I'm going to give it a 4.5 as well.
4.5. Tim.
Despite the fact that there was no giant chicken attacking Tokyo, I'm still going to give this a 4.5.
4.5, which is the second highest score Tim's given all season. Tied with 6 others. And still below the 5 he gave Claws of Axos. Matt. By the way, Matt has given 3 4.5s thus far this season.
4.5s, and this might as well be 4, I think. There's just enough flaw. It's just so close. It's just this side of a 4.5, so I'll give it 4.5.
Well, I see no reason not to keep a same thing going.
We did it again.
It is a solid 4.5 from the panel, which we did for Twice Upon a Time with 3.5. It is 4.5 from the panel. By the way, this is my second 4.5 this season, tied with Bill. But I've given out more 4s than Bill has. Erin this is her fourth 4.5.
So me and Aaron are tied.
And Thomas is second.
Aha.
Anyway, so 4.5 with an average of 4.5 is going to rate this pretty fucking high on our lists.
Oh yeah, this is going to be the top quarter at the very least.
Oh yeah, it's going to be up there. It is going to be at... You know, you could just like do the Jeopardy theme at this point.
I was going no whammies, stop, but
4.5 will put Utopia at number 24 out of 231 rated.
top quarter.
Almost top 10%.
Damn.
It's like top
Almost
11%.
Top 11%, yeah. Well above top quarter. It is on par with the Zygon Invasion, Zygon Inversion, Enlightenment, Big Finish, Thousand Worlds, Heart of the Battle, New Earth, Spare Parts, The Invasion, The Rebus Operation, Thin Ice, World Enough in Time, The Doctor Falls. So a couple of season tenors in there.
Mm-hmm.
It is better than the Metaphysical Engine, or What Quill Did, the only good episode of Class.
Better than the only good episode of Class. One of 2 good episodes of Class.
The 11th Hour, Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel, Time Reaver, The Time Warrior, Jago and Lightfoot, The Spirit Trap, Face the Raven, The Judgment of Iskar, Husbands of River Song, Smoke and Mirrors, Terror of the Zygons, Centauran Stratagem, Poison Sky. And it is not quite as good as, this is a lot smaller list, Seeds of Death, Talons of Wang Chiang, Invasions of Time, Magician's Apprentice, which is familiar, The Return of Dr. Mysterio, and The Bells of St. John. So there we go. 24 of 231. That is all we have to say about Utopia, Here Come the Drums, and Last of the Time Lords.
All right, so if you enjoy listening to us, please go ahead and like us on, or subscribe to us on twitch.tv/Unearthly Podcast, or I guess it's called following now, because subscribing on Twitch is something different that we're not eligible for. And also on YouTube. And also on Unearthly Podcast on YouTube. You can also follow us at facebook.com/Unearthly Podcast and join our group so we can chat about Doctor Who and other things. And also at twitter.com/unearthlypod. And if you want to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/unearthlypodcast.
All right. So that's it. We are done with the master screen appearances since we covered End of Time and we've covered all of Missy's appearances. So we are going to move from the screen to the CD as we are going to his first appearance in Big Finish Dust Breeding. Written by Mike Tucker and starring Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor, Sophie Aldred as Ace, and Jeffrey Beavers as the Master. See you next week.
Come along, Ace. Good night, everybody.
Yes, Professor.
Awkward.